The coffee shop door chimed softly as Daniel pushed it open, his 6-year-old daughter Emma tugging at his hand with that familiar urgency only children possess. But when his eyes found her sitting alone by the window, bathed in afternoon light that seemed to make her auburn hair glow like fire, something shifted in his chest. She was beautiful, ethereal even, but it was the way she sat there, so utterly lost in her book, that made him forget to breathe. Then his gaze dropped, and he saw it, the wheelchair, sleek, modern, positioned beside her table, and in that instant, he watched something powerful unfold within himself. Not pity, not hesitation, but recognition. Here was someone who knew what it meant to navigate a world that wasn't always built for you. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, in love that sees beyond the surface, please hit that like button. Drop a comment below about what you hope to see happen.
Share this story with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel. Your support means we can keep bringing you stories that matter,
stories that remind us what it means to be truly human. Daniel had been a single father for 3 years now, ever since his wife Sarah had walked out on them without warning, leaving only a note that said she couldn't do it anymore, couldn't be the mother and wife they needed. The abandonment had shattered something in Emma, had made her quieter, more withdrawn, desperately seeking approval from every woman they encountered, as if trying to fill the void her mother had left. Daniel had watched his bright, bubbly little girl transform into someone who flinched at the possibility of rejection, and it broke his heart every single day. He had promised himself he would be enough for her, that they would be okay, just the two of them. But lately, he had begun to feel the weight of his own loneliness, the ache for adult conversation, for connection, for someone to share the burden of raising a child who still asked why her mommy didn't love her enough to stay. The coffee shop had become their Saturday ritual, a small piece of normalcy in their carefully reconstructed life. Emma loved the chocolate croissants and the kind barista who always remembered her name. Daniel loved the brief respite, the illusion that they were just another normal family enjoying a weekend morning. But today was different. Today, Emma had noticed the woman by the window before he had tugged his sleeve and whispered with that desperate hope in her voice that always preceded disappointment.
"She's pretty, Daddy. She's reading my favorite book. Can we say hi?"
Daniel's instinct was to protect his daughter, to steer her away from another potential rejection. Emma had approached women before, seeking that maternal warmth, only to be met with polite disinterest or awkward confusion. Each time he watched another piece of her confidence crumble. But there was something about the woman by the window, something in the gentle way she turned the pages, the slight smile playing at her lips as she read, that made him reconsider. So he nodded, and together they approached, Emma clutching his hand so tightly he could feel her nervous pulse against his palm. The woman looked up as they drew near, and her eyes were the color of honey in sunlight, warm and impossibly kind. Emma, emboldened by that warmth, blurted out that she loved that book too, that it was her favorite story about the girl who could talk to animals. The woman's face lit up with genuine delight, and she began talking to Emma about the story, asking her which animal she would want to talk to if she could. Listening with complete attention as Emma explained in elaborate detail about wanting to understand what her goldfish was thinking. Daniel watched this unfold, watched his daughter bloom under this stranger's attention, and felt something in his chest unwind just slightly. After a few minutes, the woman invited them to sit, and Emma scrambled into a chair with barely contained excitement. They talked about books and animals and Emma's school and the woman's job as a children's librarian. Her name was Lily, and she had a laugh that sounded like music, genuine and unrestrained. Daniel found himself drawn in, captivated by her intelligence, her humor, the way she made Emma giggle in a way he hadn't heard in months. For 20 perfect minutes, it felt like they were all just people connecting, like the universe had arranged this meeting with intention.
Then Emma, in that unfiltered way children have, pointed to the wheelchair and asked why Lily had it.
The coffee shop seemed to hold its breath. Daniel felt ice shoot through his veins, mortification flooding him as he prepared to apologize, to explain, to usher his tactless daughter away. But Lily just smiled, that same warm smile, and explained simply that her legs didn't work the way other people's did, that she'd been born this way, and that her wheelchair was like her legs. It helped her get around and do everything she wanted to do.
Emma processed this with the straightforward acceptance
children possess, nodded seriously, and asked if Lily could still do fun things like go to the park. Lily assured her she could, had even gone camping last month, had a specially adapted bike she rode on trails. Emma's eyes widened with fascination, and Daniel felt something shift in how his daughter saw the world. But then came the moment that would define everything. Emma, perhaps feeling the warmth and safety of Lily's presence, perhaps recognizing something in this kind woman that she desperately needed, asked with heartbreaking vulnerability if Lily would like to come to the park with them that afternoon. Daniel's heart stopped. He saw the hope blazing in his daughter's eyes, the terrifying possibility that this stranger would say no, would reject her, would add another layer to the abandonment she already carried. He opened his mouth to intervene, to make excuses, to protect his daughter from potential hurt. Lily looked at Emma, then at Daniel, and something complicated passed across her face. She hesitated, and in that pause Daniel saw understanding dawn. She knew what this moment meant. She glanced down at her wheelchair, then back at Emma's eager face, and Daniel watched her make a decision. When she spoke, her voice was soft but steady. She said that she would love to come to the park with them, but she wanted to be honest first. Sometimes people saw her wheelchair and changed their minds about wanting to be friends. Sometimes children got uncomfortable, or their parents did. She didn't want Emma to invite her and then feel weird about it. She said, "Sorry, I'm in a wheelchair," as if offering an out, a graceful exit from this budding connection. Emma looked confused, glancing between Lily and her father as if trying to understand what the wheelchair had to do with anything. Then she said, with the pure logic of childhood, that she didn't care about the wheelchair. She cared about Lily being nice and liking the same books and maybe becoming her friend. The words hung in the air, simple and devastating in their honesty. Daniel watched Lily's eyes fill with tears, watched her smile waver and then strengthen. She nodded, whispered okay then, and Daniel saw the relief wash over her face. That afternoon in the park changed everything. Daniel pushed Emma on the swings while Lily watched and cheered. Then Lily and Emma had a competition to see who could spot the most different types of birds while Daniel fetched ice cream. They sat together on a bench, the three of them, eating melting cones and laughing as Emma told elaborate stories about the secret lives of the ducks in the pond. Daniel found himself watching Lily when she wasn't looking, noticing how capable she was, how she navigated the world with quiet confidence, how she never once seemed limited by the thing that she'd warned them might make them uncomfortable. He found himself drawn to her strength, her kindness, the way she saw his daughter not as a burden or an interruption, but as a delightful person worth knowing. Over the following weeks, they began meeting regularly. Coffee shops and parks became library story times and pizza dinners and trips to the aquarium. Emma flourished under Lily's attention, her confidence returning bit by bit. And Daniel found himself falling, not despite the wheelchair, but in complete disregard of it, because it simply wasn't relevant to who Lily was. She was brilliant and funny and patient and challenged him intellectually and made him laugh until his sides hurt. She understood his fears about Emma, shared insights from her own childhood experiences of feeling different, helped him see his daughter's resilience instead of just her vulnerability. She told him about her own fears too, about the men who had rejected her because of her disability, who had seen her wheelchair before they saw her, who had treated her like a charity case or an inspiration rather than just a woman. She had built walls to protect herself, had warned them away that first day expecting rejection, because it was what she'd learned to anticipate. But Daniel's next move, the one that changed everything, wasn't grand or dramatic. It was consistent. It was showing up. It was inviting Lily to Emma's school play and introducing her to other parents as his girlfriend without caveat or explanation. It was learning about accessible venues, not as a burden, but as a normal part of planning their lives together. It was asking her opinion on parenting decisions, valuing her perspective, building a partnership. It was Emma calling her one evening in tears about a fight with a friend, and asking for Lily instead of him, trusting her, needing her. It was Daniel kissing her one evening on her doorstep and telling her that he loved her, all of her, exactly as she was, and meaning it with every fiber of his being. If this story touched your heart, if you believe in the power of seeing people for who they truly are, if you've ever felt invisible or judged unfairly, please leave a comment below. Tell us about a time someone saw past your surface to your soul. Share this story with someone who needs to remember that they are worthy of love exactly as they are. And if you haven't already, subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss stories that remind us of our shared humanity. 6 months after that first meeting in the coffee shop, Daniel asked Lily to move in with them. Emma had decorated an entire welcome poster with drawings of all three of them together, labeled Our Family. The night they brought Lily's belongings into the house that had felt incomplete for so long, Emma fell asleep between them on the couch, one hand holding Lily's, one holding Daniel's. And Daniel looked at this woman who had been brave enough to be vulnerable, who had offered Emma the maternal love she'd been craving, who had shown his daughter that different didn't mean less, that limitations existed only in perspective, and he knew with absolute certainty that sometimes the most profound love stories begin not with perfect people, but with open hearts. Before we end, please take a moment to comment below and tell us, what did this story teach you about love and acceptance? We read every single comment, and your words inspire us to keep sharing stories that matter. The wheelchair had never been the barrier. Fear was. Assumption was. But kindness, real soul-deep kindness that sees beyond surface to substance, that changes everything. That saves us. That makes us whole. And in the end, it wasn't Daniel who rescued Lily or Lily who saved Emma or any simple narrative of salvation. It was three people choosing each other, seeing each other completely, and building something beautiful from honesty and hope. That's the move that changed everything. That's always the move that changes everything.